We are trying to find the integral from 0 to 1 of this weird looking function here, right? Like that's so strange. Okay. That looks really strange. So what we can do here is, let's simplify this. What is that square root of e to the x? Well, that's basically saying e to the x, right? And then all to the power of a half. Now, when you go across that bracket there for the indices, this is a throwback to your indice laws. That becomes a times. So let's make it a lot easier. And that becomes ex divided by 2. A lot easier to deal with. And again, that's from 0 to 1 for dx. So now we're just going to have to find the differential of that, right? So anything to the power of the, that stays the same. That's the whole purpose of it. So when we integrate it, we can find that's exactly the same. That's the special number, that 2.7 something. That's the number they figured out, that it doesn't change the value of the thing at the top. But what it does mean is we have to divide by a half, because that's what would be brought down normally, right? Like if you start off with e to the x and you differentiate that, you'd get e to the x divided by 2, but this time a 1/2 would be brought down. So integrating is the opposite of that, so we need to divide by a half. So let's do that. Okay, and now it's a definite integral, so let's wrap it around and we put the value from 0 to 1. Okay, now when you get something like, let's say 3 divided by 2, all right? A way to do that is to say that's 3 times by 1/2. Do you see how you just flip the fraction? So again, let's just flip the fraction here. That's probably the most confusing bit, is just how to deal with fractions. That's why this particular question is hard. So that is equal to x divided by 2 times by 2 divided by 1. Okay, so that's a lot easier. So it just becomes 2. So let's just write that. That's a lot easier. And that goes from 0 to 1. So now we're trying to find the definite integral. So what you do is you take the top and you minus the bottom. And I always like drawing the square brackets because I forget where the negative signs are. Just reduce your mistakes. So whenever you see an x, put like a circular bracket around it and then shove the value, either that 1 or the 0 in there. Let's start with the top. So it's e1 on 2 minus by 2e0 divided by 2. Okay, so that we can say is 2e and then 1/2, nice and easy, minus by 2. Now that's e to the 0. Anything to the power of 0 is just going to be equal to 1. So that's 2e to the 1/2 minus by 2. Okay, and you can leave it at that. That's probably as easy as you want to get, but we don't like leaving powers to the value of a half. We've got a special square root for that, and that's probably what you should leave it as, is like this, and that's your answer. So the really tricky thing, I think, is just getting rid of the square root at the beginning because it's really hard to deal with, and then applying it later at the end. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I would love to help.